You ever notice how the Democrats' protest strategy looks like a UFC fighter who read one blog post on fighting and then decided to improvise? So that's what the King's Rally is out there. They seem to be like improvising. They saw like a clip of like how it was done in the 60s or something, and now they're out there like kind of doing a faint image of it, and it's like, and that's kind of like what it feels like to me. I don't know if I'm so it's like if from our boxing analogy, right? They don't jab, they don't clinch, they wobble around in an inflatable chicken suit doing an Oktoberfest chicken dance while yelling, "He's a king, squawk squawk." I mean, I don't know how effective that's going to be. I'm not sure. That's as if calling someone a monarch is the ultimate combo move. Yeah, that's really going to rock the democratically elected president. I don't know if that's going to. It doesn't seem. So it's like a chicken yelling "No kings" is kind of like the phrase "kick his butt." You know, this is where it comes in. Like kick his butt. You kind of know what that means if someone says they're going to kick that guy's butt or something like that. But again, I think they've kind of messed it up, thinking that the actual strategy that they're going to do when they get into the ring is try to actually kick the guy in the butt, which isn't really effective. That's actually not a really effective strategy if you kick the guy in the butt and they hit you in the face, right? That's not going to work. So you know, I've heard that phrase all my life. I kind of get it. But after watching the UFC fights for research, obviously, I realized something. Kicking someone's butt doesn't actually win the fight. I don't think I've ever seen a fight where someone gets knocked out because they were kicked in the butt. So it just looks sad and pathetic, while also leaving you open to getting knocked out. That's what seems to happen. So the match is usually won by someone kicks the other guy in the face, not in the butt, right? That's what. So which. And again, I know it's just a phrase. It's just a phrase, right? Like it's just an idiom. But these people have deconstructed. See what I mean? They've deconstructed it, so they think it's actually a strategy because they don't know any of the idioms anymore. So which will be really metaphorically. I'm talking metaphorically here as we apply it to the protests, to the No Kings protests, of course. We're talking about analogies here, not a call to arms for emotional support anarchists in yoga pants. We always have to point that out, that we're not trying to be violent here because, again, it's obvious, but for those wild gun-toting progressives out there that want to shoot everyone, you gotta clarify. They get confused, right? It's a metaphor. So you know they're wearing the baggy blow-up suits for the same reason looters wore baggy pants back in the day, probably still do. You know, you got to steal stuff with the baggy pants. They're hiding things in the baggy pants. Just the same, I suspect that they're setting this thing up with these blow-up costumes for the same dang reason, man. Pat down the puffy frog, I'm telling you. Pat down the frog. Honestly. Instead of "you got your butt kicked," the phrase should be something more like "you got your face kicked," so that people don't get confused. You feel like accuracy over euphemism is important when dealing with deconstructivists these days. You got to be accurate. So maybe it started with someone's face that got hit so hard that his cheeks puffed up and it looked like, yes, butt cheeks, right? But still, that people are confused. We don't know the etymology anymore. So you have to be more clear. Language is weird like that. However, if you're ever in the actual fighter's corner ready to give some advice, don't tell him to kick the guy's butt. That's just going to confuse him. Especially since, you're dealing with a guy that possibly got hit in the face a few times in the ring, right? You don't want to confuse the people anymore. Honestly, it's like telling Joe Biden to go out there and kick someone's butt. It's not going to go well. You got to be specific. So after taking a few shots to the head, his rational thought is probably only marginally better than President Biden on his best day back in 1756, when President Biden was still trying to finish his first term as colonial governor of Delaware, for crying out loud. No, you got to be specific. You got to be like the dude telegraphs his hook, counter with a kick to the face. The plan should not be kick the dude's butt, but knock him on it. for crying out loud. Specific advice is the best advice, especially when dealing with a punch-drunk guy. So you know, like Rocky's trainer. If you see 3 of them out there, hit the one in the middle. Notice how specific that is. If you see 3 of them out there, hit the one in the middle, right? There's no negotiation. You're not gonna like, you know, right? You're not like, which one should I do, an eeny, meeny, miny, mo? No, hit the one in the middle. Which brings us to the chicken suit tactic, marching down Main Street in inflatable animals because you got $5 stipend and a memo about optics. That's worse than a UF fighter strategy of kicking the other guy in the butt. At least the fighter in the octagon is trying to do something. Some progressive in a frog costume chanting slogans looks like they wandered off the kids' party and is even less effective. So if your grand plan is defend democracy, is to embarrass yourself for TikTok clips, congratulations, you've turned protest into paid entertainment. That's not a movement building, that's auditioning for community theater. Meanwhile, the people we're supposed to persuade are watching and thinking, that's the best you've got? No thank you, no thank you. If you actually want to win, not just trend for an afternoon, stop choosing choreographs over competence. Stop electing spectacle as strategy. Aim for substance, policy that works, arguments that land, a message that doesn't look like it was written by someone who thinks PR equals policy and any attention is good attention. We've disproved that. All the like the Bud Light stuff and all that kind of stuff has disproved any attention is good attention. That's bad marketing. And for the love of common sense, if someone hands you a chicken suit, check with your PR team. And if your PR team gave you the chicken suit, tell them, like a real boss, you're fired. Embarrassing yourself in public isn't activism. It's pantomime. Pantomime doesn't win elections if you don't have media monopoly, which you have lost. That would have worked. If you had media monopoly, they would have praised these riots as like we're taking down, you know, fascism guy worse than Hitler. If they would have painted it that way and it would have worked. Notice it didn't work. I'm not sure the spin that they're trying to put on this right now is basically, look, at least they didn't kill anyone. That's the amount of sway that the media has. They used to be able to say, look, they're out there fighting injustice against literally Hitler. Now they're just saying, look, at least no one died, right? Do you see how much power and influence they've lost, right? Going forward, the winning strategy is going to be actual truth, right? Truth isn't just going to be something that you should do morally. It's actually going to be a winning strategy if you have a non-corrupted or monopoly media. That's the general idea. So stop wobbling and start punching with purpose, which of course presumes you need to find a purpose. Find a freaking purpose, you loons. Marketing's not going to do it. Monopoly media is not going to do it. Find a purpose. That's the rant. It was a little too long this time. I tried to improvise a little bit. I don't know.